Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. Tonight, we are joined by Emmy-nominated plastic surgeon from Skin Decision Before and After, Dr. Sheila Nazarian. Sheila, welcome to The Right View.
Lara, it's so great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. For a lot of people, I feel like we're all invested in all of these shows. I love a show where they're popping pimples and all that crazy stuff. People obviously love to see the before and afters from plastic surgery. And I obviously want to discuss your career, the television, everything, and your activism for Jewish causes. But first, I really want to hear about your story, because while you're on TV as this plastic surgeon now, your story in and of itself probably could be its own show. You were smuggled out of Iran at 6 years old and ultimately ended up in America. I mean, tell us your story. This is incredible.
Yeah, so my parents actually had me as the original anchor baby. They saw kind of the changes that were happening in Iran. A lot of our family had already gotten out. I was born in 1979, so my mom at 9 months pregnant flew to New York, had me in Long Island, stayed for a month, and then they went back to our lives, which was a very comfortable life. My dad was the chief medical officer of the Shah's Heart Hospital. I have a great picture of him in my house giving a tour to the Shah and the Queen of the hospital. So a very comfortable life. But they just started realizing, this is maybe not a great place for their daughters, as we see everything happening in Iran right now. And wasn't a great place for Jews. So the Iran-Iraq war was in full swing. A bomb landed very close to our house, and all of these things just added up. And they said, you know what, it's time for us to leave. As you know, Lara, they wouldn't let Jews leave, even though we were persecuted. And we had to arrange for smugglers to help us get out of Iran. So what happened is my father left the passports of me, my mother, and my sister with the government. He said he was going on a medical conference in America. What he did is he flew to Vienna and was working on getting us visas. Meanwhile, my mom one day took me and my sister to the bazaar. We got into the back of a truck. They put burlap sacks and corn on top of us, got us very close to the Pakistani border. We got out for a bathroom break, which was basically a clay hut with a hole in the ground. In that bathroom is where my mom told me that we were going to go to America, and all I could think of is I'm going to meet Michael Jackson, because we had all these like Thriller videos that I used to like practice learning the dance and everything.
Oh my gosh.
And eventually we spent a night in the desert. The second day, we were driving before the sun came up with the lights of this pickup truck off. The border police did see us. They started shooting at us. They turned the lights on and started driving very quickly, went over a ravine. And the border police thought it was too dangerous to continue pursuing us. And so they sort of gave up. We were able to make it to Pakistan, which we stayed there for 3 months waiting for visas. And then eventually reunited with my dad in Vienna. We spent another 3 months in Vienna waiting for visas to make it to the US. And eventually, thank God, we made it to this amazing country.
Wow. I mean, that's intense. That's a lot. And you were 6 years old, no less, when this all happened. It's kind of amazing that you have such a vivid memory of it, but obviously must have made quite an impression on you to have to go through all of that. Where did you move after you first got to America? Where were you living?
We actually stayed with my aunt, who was already here. They were a family of four. We were a family of four, so we were living in a 2-bedroom apartment. My dad would ride his bicycle to the library every day to study for his medical board so that he could practice in America. Eventually, when he was able to pass and get a job, we moved into our own apartment, eventually a house. He was working 6.5 days a week just to put me and my sister through school. I mean, you have to understand the immigrant story, that drive that I have, that, urge to burn the candle at both ends, just to honor the sacrifice, that my parents made. And a lot of my activism now, speaking the truth, speaking my mind, freedom of thought. My parents didn't leave everything behind to bring us to America so that I would shut up.
Yeah, but so true and so well said. And I think there are a lot of people who have come to America from other countries who really get it once they move here. Obviously, you were willing to risk your life, and your parents were willing to risk their lives and yours to bring you to America because they knew that, you know, the boundless opportunities here and the freedom here was something worth pursuing. That's honestly, it's really incredible. And then it sounds like you followed to an extent in your dad's footsteps and ultimately went into medicine. Now you became a plastic surgeon, and I got to ask you about plastic surgery because I find it really fascinating. There's so many different directions you can go in medicine. And then to choose plastic surgery, to me, I feel like it's a little bit the same reason I went into, I'm a pastry chef, actually, among many other things. I went to culinary school, but I focused on pastries because I loved the artistic nature of it all. What was it about plastic surgery that drew you in that direction?
Well, yeah, I mean, when we were about to, make our way to America and my mom told me we were going on a trip, I started making my own suitcase with paper bags and duct tape. I mean, I was always doing these crafty things. My mom used to call me متخصص کارهای بیخودی, which means the expert in useless things. But I think all of those little crafty things that I did as a kid and the measurements and like designing things and all of that stuff kind of makes me the plastic surgeon that I am today. And I will tell you, if it wasn't for plastic surgery, if I hadn't been accepted into plastic surgery, which was one of the most difficult residencies to get, I probably would have gone into business or furniture design or something else, because there is no other field of medicine that I think I would have been able to be as passionate about. So, yeah, it was either orthopedics or architecture originally, and I just didn't think orthopedics was artistic enough. And architecture, I didn't want to just design it; I wanted to actually build it with my hands. So one of my friends told me, "Hey, why don't you look into plastic surgery?" I did. It was the perfect match, and that was that.
Wow. Are all of your friends like, "Hey, what do you think about this? What do you are like, do you get questions like that all the time that you go out to dinner with your friends and you're like, I really can't?"
I actually was yesterday with Nick Cannon, and I swear the entire staff crew, everybody was like, so they were like coming into the green room. What do I need? What are they, like?
Oh yeah, I know.
My friends, I think, are like, they know what they kind of need, or if they were interested, they just ask me and I would treat them. But I feel like it's more when I meet strangers that they're like, oh my God.
That's so fun. I mean, you must talk about it constantly. It must get a little much at sometimes. But look, obviously there are a lot of plastic surgeons out there, but not all of them end up on television. How did that happen? Because that is quite a leap.
I always knew I wanted my own show. I was a singer, I was a dancer, I was in theater in high school, and I always say I've never met a microphone I didn't like. So I was asked by one of my mentors, when I was a 5th-year resident in plastic surgery, where do you see yourself in 10 years? And I'm like, I'm going to have my own show. And he's like, okay, you go do that, like weirdo. But I immediately came out. Nobody knew who I was. I didn't have a name. And instead of, doing lunch with the ladies and, having a good time with now all this opened up free time after residency, any free time that I had, I was filming content. What's the difference between a tummy tuck and a mini tummy tuck? What's the difference between a breast reduction and a breast lift? Just like simple, easy to digest videos. I didn't know at the time that, when you search on Google, like expert in breast reduction, the videos show up first. So I was one of the first plastic surgeons doing video. I knew people didn't want to read anymore. I knew that they just wanted to watch a video, and then if they were interested, they would go on to read after that. So
yeah,
I was
sad to say, but that's true.
It's so true. I mean, I'm guilty of that too,
Yeah.
So it became kind of like a media resume. I was getting tons of media opportunities. I didn't have a publicist, nothing, but because I was kind of showing that I could speak in a way people could understand, and that I was like, okay, speaking on camera, I got all these opportunities for The Real, E! News, Inside Edition, like all of these things. And eventually, I think the producers started seeing me on TV a lot. I did 3 pitches. I was under contract with E! For a while. That didn't get picked up. But the producer from that E! Show was a producer on the Netflix show. So when that opportunity came up, he's like, go get Nazarian. So that's sort of how it happened. It's like getting married. I feel like when you get your own show, it's such a miracle, but you have to like date so many people in order to find that. It's like a numbers game, right?
Yeah, find your niche, find your spot, find where you fit perfectly. That's amazing. When were you on Inside Edition? I worked there ages ago.
Oh my God, it was years ago. I would probably like 7 years ago.
I may have still been an Inside Edition. We could have crossed paths in some crazy way. I love that.
I was on Inside Edition a few times, actually.
Oh, see, there you go. It all comes full circle. I love this for us. But you're right. I feel like everybody wants to know the things that you were filming. Like, well, what is this? How does this work? Because I'm sure when people decide I want to have a procedure of some variety, they need to have a little information on it, especially an elective procedure like that. Like, it's one thing, you break your leg and you got to have your femur reset or something, but this is something people are electing to do. But once you kind of demystify it in a way for them with the videos, I'm sure it makes people a little bit more comfortable. So it was very smart that you did that, because I think people do want that content. And who doesn't love a before and after? I mean, I'm here for all of that. I love a good before and after on anything. Put a cake in the oven, comes out, see it decorated, all that stuff. Yeah, but really, really well done. And obviously that's been working out. You touched on this a little bit when you were sharing your story. Some of the anti-Semitism, obviously, that you experienced yourself in Iran when you were there. We know that anti-Semitism is on the rise here in the U.S., around the world. And I wonder what that was like for you growing up as a young Jewish girl in Iran. What did you face whenever you were there? What kind of things did you experience? Obviously, the fact that you couldn't leave the country and you had to literally be smuggled out is, just mind-boggling. And what does it mean to you when you see that anti-Semitism is still in existence today and here in America, of all places?
Yeah, so in Iran, I was kind of young. I think the first time I actually personally, was aware of anti-Semitism we were staying in Pakistan. They would have parties in the hotel every night. We were living in this hotel for 3 months waiting for visas. So we would go down, we would look at the party dresses and listen to the music. And I don't know how, but there was this adult woman who basically looked down on me and said, "Are you a Jew?" And I said, "Yes." And then she spit in my face. So that was really the first time. Yeah, that was really the first time that I personally witnessed it. But in Iran, there was microaggressions. Like if a Jewish person was valedictorian of the high school, they would give it to the next runner-up who was Muslim. They wouldn't give it to the Jew.
Wow.
There are macroaggressions, like, the elders in my family tell the story about when it would rain, they would beat up the Jews because the rain was hitting the backs of the Jews and then hitting the floor, and you were making the ground filthy. And so they would beat up the Jews. Or when they went to the market, they couldn't pick an apple because they couldn't touch it because we were considered filth. So, these are stories within our family. And, Nazarian wasn't our original family last name. A lot of Jews changed their names to not sound Jewish to avoid persecution. We wouldn't hang mezuzahs. We wouldn't put a menorah in the window like we're supposed to during Hanukkah. You were just very quiet about it. And you practiced in silence or in secret. And so coming to America and being able to have freedom of religion here and freedom to worship is amazing. But we always know, and I don't know if it's just because the trauma is so fresh and within our lifetime, that anti-Semitism exists everywhere. It kind of goes silent, but then resurfaces every once in a while, like once a generation kind of. So I'm not surprised. I'm actually happy that people are verbalizing their anti-Semitism so we can know who they are, number one. And number two, so we can take opportunities for people that maybe were miseducated or brainwashed from birth, as I like to call it. I look at things very medically. You can't not go to the doctor when you feel a lump in your breast because you're afraid to hear the C word, right? So we have to make the correct diagnosis. And I think the thing that people are too silent about is, where does anti-Semitism come from? It comes from the families. It comes from the mentors in certain communities that are anti-Semitic. And we have to talk about that. Like in Iran, as kids, they would make us walk. They would paint the Israeli flag or the American flag on the floor so that you would walk all over it. The anti-Semitism was taught in schools. It was taught from elders in your family to you over dinner. So until we talk about this brainwashing from birth. Until we call it out, we are not making the correct diagnosis, and therefore we cannot apply the correct treatment. So the same thing is happening now in the US, where in certain communities, we have, for example, in the Black community, we have the Farrakhan. And until we call out the anti-Semitic rhetoric of the mentors, of the powerful influencers in each community, and this is what I talked to Nick Cannon about yesterday, until we call that out, how can we apply the correct treatment, right? Same with the extremist Muslims. Until everything was happening in Iran recently, Laura, anytime I would talk about extremism or extremists, people would say, oh, Islamophobia. This is the first time that I know that moderate Muslims are calling out extremist Muslims. This is the first time the people of Iran, the moderate Muslims, are saying enough. We don't want this extremist ideology. Wow. We don't want this shoved upon us. And to me, that's the silver lining of everything happening in Iran. For the first time, we're able to call out extremism without being labeled something. We're able to call out brainwashing from birth without being labeled something. We have to make the correct diagnosis. We have to verbalize it. We have to call it out if we have any chance of treating this cancer that is infecting the world.
Yeah. Do you still have family in Iran?
No.
No. Wow. Everybody's
we're
left.
Actually the last in our family to leave because my father's mother was older and we needed to get her out first. So actually most of my family left in the mid 70s. And we were kind of the last ones that were in full swing revolution and Iran-Iraq war when we left in 85.
Wow. I mean, your experience gives you such a perspective of all of it. And I think it's so right that it is brainwashed into people to hate anyone from birth. If you look at kids, you put a bunch of young kids together and you don't tell them anything about anyone else. Someone might look a little different than they do, but kids, I don't even think kids really acknowledge it. They just want to play with another kid. It really is obviously something that has to be taught to hate another person, whether it's for the color of their skin or their religious beliefs or whatever it might be. And it's amazing that you are using the platform that you've built to speak out about things that really are very close to your heart, but also, like you said, need to be talked about more. And you've also become a little more outspoken politically lately, even sharing why you believe it's time for American Jews to exit the Democrat Party. It's always been very interesting to me, Sheila, to look at the way that I think most Jewish people in America are viewing Donald Trump, are viewing the Republican Party. And I don't get it. There seems to be a disconnect to me of sorts as to why they would think that this was a man, my father-in-law, while he was president, and you look at everything he did for Israel in so many respects, and it's totally ignored, I think, to a large extent. But what do you think has happened over the past 5+ years that has sparked this idea in so many Jewish people here in America? Because we have seen people kind of waking up from every walk of life and saying, this party is probably not for me anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make it very simple for you of why certain Jews vote the way that they do. And this is a very simple explanation that maybe will give you a certain light bulb and an aha moment. Everybody sees the world through their personal trauma, right? So with American Ashkenazi Jews, the European Jews, that their family members were genocided in the Holocaust, they associate the Republican Party and the verbiage of the Republican Party with that, with that extremism of the Holocaust. Okay, so it's very difficult to convince someone who, from the beginning of their lives, was told the Republican Party represents this to vote Republican. Okay. Meanwhile, on the flip side of it, people like Iranian Jews who have seen and lived in socialism, right? Cuban Jews, South American Jews, they don't understand. We're viewing the world through what socialism did to us, which we associate that rhetoric with the left, right? So we're sitting here like we don't understand how anybody can vote Democratic, right?
Yeah.
When we're viewing the lens through what socialism and that verbiage and that rhetoric did to our people and our countries. Okay, so it just depends on kind of the lens through which the trauma happened. And I think that it was so funny. I was talking to Dennis Prager, and he was saying the first time he voted Republican, he cried.
Wow.
So, I mean, this is
Like he's
so
going against
big.
everything he's been taught, everything he knows. Wow,
Right. It's
that's
been
crazy.
so ingrained. So to go against kind of everything that's been taught to you or that you've read or that you've been
Yeah,
told
that
is
is hard.
difficult. It's
It's
hard.
very hard. Yeah, it's hard to, once you have been told something so many times over and over again, even if you're kind of like, I don't know, something feels off here to me. It's very hard to change your perspective on things for anyone. I mean, it's just human nature, I think.
Right.
Do you see any change in that space at all? Do you feel like that there are perhaps more American Jews who are waking up and saying, I don't know if I can vote for the Democrat Party anymore? Or
I
what is
think
your, what do you think?
I do. I actually do. I think the first kind of language that I start seeing within the community, especially the Ashkenazi community, is I'm partyless. I don't know, I'm
Yeah,
without a party. I can't be on this team and I can't be on that team. So that's sort of like the shift to the middle or to like a homeless space. And then I think, if the Republican Party was able to, without emotion, just list out the things that the Republican Party has done for Jews, for Israel, for other communities, the Black community, the
yeah.
Hispanic community, without emotion, just list like a resume, the things that have been done, list the facts. It's very difficult to refute
It's
facts.
so true. Yeah. I'll get you the list, Sheila. It's coming up. I'll get it to you real quick. You can put it out there too. I wonder, it takes a lot of bravery, sadly, these days to talk about your political views if you happen to lean right in any way. And I wonder if the fact that you've been speaking out about either politics or anti-Semitism has impacted your medical work at all, because I'll tell you, they'll cancel people in a heartbeat. They love to do it. And do you have any regrets about sharing your voice and being so open, sort of in the crazy space and climate we live in today?
I mean, when I first posted about Israel, for example, I lost, I think it was 3,000 followers in the first
Wow.
30 minutes. And you know what? I was just like, F it, I'm doing it. Like, I need to sleep well at night. I need to be speaking truth. I need to enlighten people. And if that means I lose everything, so be it. But actually, Lara, the exact opposite happened. And what I learned is you can't get canceled unless you give into it. And also, you
Exactly.
can't get canceled if you come from a place of love, of empathy, and of really strong core values. So I just kept going. And what happened is I met the coolest people, the most amazing opportunities came my way. My patients who loved me before told me they were obsessed with me now with tears in their eyes.
Oh,
It has not hurt my practice at all. If anything, I'm able to have honest conversations with people. I'm not walking on eggshells anymore. People know where I
yeah.
stand. And somebody told me that God rewards the authentic. And I believe that to be true. I know that people who I'm speaking to know where I stand. And if they're speaking to me, they're either trying to understand, learn, or when they show love to me, it's because they know who I truly am and they love me for who I truly am. So I am a huge proponent of, in America, land of the free, home of the brave, it should
Yep.
not be considered courageous to have conversations, to say
I
what you.
agree. Yeah,
It really
totally.
truly, you said it's sad. It really is sad.
It is. I mean, it's awful that because it actually is the antithesis of what our founders envisioned for this country. They wanted this country to be a place where you had no fear to speak your mind. I mean, we know that more ideas are better than fewer ideas, and the days of us all coming together and bringing different perspectives and different points of view together to then come up with the best way forward. I mean, I'm afraid those days may be gone. It feels like
I
they
don't
are
think so. I
dang.
think people are getting sick of it. I
Yeah,
think
I think you're right.
people had enough. And also, Laura, like in Iran, when you got canceled, you disappeared and you never came back. I'm not afraid of this like bullying cancel situation. Like, bring it on.
Yeah, I love that. Good for you. Well, and you have three kids, right? And they're first generation Americans. And I feel like, like I said at the beginning, anyone who has immigrated to America, honestly, from any other country, knows how special it is here and understands why this country is so great. How often does mom tell them how lucky you are to be born in America? Because I feel like, that's something that probably never gets old talking about with them.
They know. I mean, I'm so outspoken. I'm on social media. Their friends follow me. Their teachers follow me. So I think everyone knows at this point where I stand. Nothing's a secret. But no, they are very, very grateful. And, I have my own podcast, The Closet. I just had Yeonmi Park, the North Korean defector on, and she went to my alma mater too, Columbia University. And she talks about sitting next to girls, holding $6 lattes in their hand, wearing $120 Lululemon leggings, talking about how they're oppressed. And so I think, them hearing those stories from other people that I also invite to speak to, it's just a matter of perspective, and it's a matter of teaching them like gratefulness and thankfulness and, just talking to them about what I went through and them hearing stories about what other immigrants have gone through to be here. They know. They don't need to hear me say America's great. They know. We have a huge, massive flag in my front yard.
Oh, that's so great. I love that. How old are your kids?
15, 14, and 11.
Oh, wow. You're in the thick of it, girl.
I know.
Those are tough ages. Mine are 3 and 5. And sometimes my daughter,
enjoy it.
Well, it's the best, but everybody tells me, they're like, you know what, with the 3-year-old, like you get a glimpse every now and again as to what she'll be like as a teenager. I'm terrified, Sheila. This is going to be,
you need to lay down the law. You need to have them understand what you need them to understand by the age of 9. So you have time.
Okay.
But time. You make them respect their parents. You make them work hard. You give them little chores or little tasks. When you bring the groceries in, you have them put some of the stuff away in the pantry. Have them get involved in their meal planning. If you cut the celery sticks for them, have them put it in the little baggies. Get them involved. My kids at this point cook for me.
Oh,
they do their own laundry. Yeah. So, I mean, we all have to contribute. And I think it's a good lesson for them to learn. I tell them, I'm not going to be there with you when you're in college. You need to know how to do your laundry. You need to know how to feed yourself.
Yes.
You need to know how to get up on time. My son, sometimes it's difficult for boys, especially, to wake up in the morning. He gets left at home. Like, he has to wait.
Good for you. I love that. The tough love is real, and I love that. That's how I was raised.
It's more like responsibility. It's more like accountability and responsibility. And it's so funny, looking at college campuses with safe spaces and all this craziness at this point. I'm telling my kids, like, I'm setting you up for success right now. It's not going to be hard. Like, you got this.
Yeah, it'll be a breeze after you get out of your house. I love that. Good for you. That's great parenting, obviously, and your kids are so lucky to have you as a mom. Where can people find your podcast?
My podcast is called The Closet with Dr. Sheila Nazarian on anywhere that you find podcasts. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, where I'm very active, it's at Dr. Sheila Nazarian.
And you're in the closet right now. There you are in your space. I love it. You're physically there right now. Well, Dr. Sheila Nazarian, thank you for joining us on The Right View. And thank you for all of your work to really open people's eyes, because I do think that's what you're doing. And I think it's very important. And it is brave, regardless of the fact that it shouldn't be looked at as courageous or anything like that to speak your mind. You're doing some really great stuff, and I think you're waking a lot of people up. So thank you for doing it. And thank you for joining us here on The Right View. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Lara. It's great talking to you.
All right. To everybody at home, as always, make sure you like, share, follow so we can continue this show. And we'll see you back here next time for more of The Right View. At The Right View, we're very proud of the fact that we are independent. We get to say everything that we think and everything that we feel. We have no woke companies guiding us or telling us what we can and cannot say. We are always going to shoot you straight and give you the facts as we know them. And that's why it's important to support independent outlets like The Right View. My name is Lara Trump, and I think Mike Lindell is a patriot. He is someone who loves this country, is willing to fight for this country. I love MyPillow because not only are MyPillows made in the USA by American workers, but they're great products, and they're so great that not only do I use them in my own bed at night, my children actually requested. My daughter the other day went to the closet and pulled out a MyPillow and said, "This is the pillow that I want to sleep with." And I gotta tell you, she loves it and will have nothing to do with any other pillow. So it's a big hit around our house. My dogs also happen to sleep on MyPillow dog beds. So all around the Trump household, we're big fans. If you go to mypillow.com today and use promo code Trump, again, promo code Trump, you will not only save money, but you will help us continue this show and other shows like it and help us continue the fight for the future of America. Inflation has impacted all of our lives. I don't think anyone can go to the gas pump or the grocery store without noticing that it is a major factor. And unfortunately, it's not going anywhere. It doesn't seem like it's going down in the way that we would like it to. And one way to protect your money is by investing in precious metals, gold and silver. That's always been a great way to make sure that you keep your money and you keep it safe. When you go to bh-pm.com, use promo code Trump. That way, if you decide you want to invest in gold and silver, you'll save yourself a little bit of money. We live in a time that's very interesting. A lot of us out there feel like a lot of our rights are slipping away. And if you're like I am and you want to have the right to choose whether or not to have a vaccine, how to live your life freely, and you're looking for a great doctor, I've heard amazing things about Dr. Sherwood. He's somebody who you should really check out and check into, and it'll help support this program and keep us going. So go to sherwood.tv and use promo code Trump. Again, sherwood.tv and use promo code Trump. You can save yourself some money and help us keep our program going. So I'm like a lot of people. I love to wear an Apple Watch, but I hate how it looks. And I scoured the internet to search for the best looking Apple Watch cases I could find, and I found it. goldandcherry.com. They have absolutely beautiful watches, as you can see here. Everything is waterproof. Everything looks good with different outfits. You can get sporty, you can get fancy, but they are great quality, made out of Delaware in the United States of America. And they have been kind enough to give me a promo code that I can share with you if you want to get your hands on one of these as well. It's Lara T, L-A-R-A-T is the promo code to get yourself a discount at goldandcherry.com. And not only do they make Apple Watch cases, they also make great products for iPads and iPhones, keyboards, your desktop, everything you could possibly need. Goldandcherry.com. Use promo code LARAT so you can get yourself one of these today too.